Take a deep breath, let your shoulders drop. Let the air move in through your nose, slow and gentle, and leave again even slower. Wherever you are, allow yourself to be here now. If you're lying down, feel the weight of the blanket across your body. If you're sitting, feel the quiet support of the chair behind your back. Let the muscles around your eyes soften. Let your jaw loosen. Let your hands grow heavy and still. The world outside can wait. For now, there is only this moment, this calm, this soft voice guiding you into rest. Our story tonight begins in a small village that lies between hills and mist. The year is uncertain, tucked somewhere in the Middle Ages, when candles were the only light that could be trusted after sunset. At the edge of this village, near the stream that runs like a silver thread through fields of barley, there stands a workshop. It is not grand or gilded. Its walls are made of rough stone, its roof of weathered thatch. But inside, it smells of beeswax and warm wool, and it glows with the quiet patience of someone who works with love. Inside, a young seamstress sits alone by her wooden table. Her name is Elora. She has been here all evening, her candle burning low, her needle moving rhythmically through a piece of deep blue wool. Outside, the wind moves through the trees with a gentle hush, as if nature itself is trying not to disturb her. The faint crackle of the fire in the hearth keeps her company. Each sound in the room blends together, the thread pulling, the needle tapping, the tiny sigh of fabric meeting fabric. Elora is making a gown for a noblewoman who lives in the castle on the hill. The cloth she works with is rare, dyed from woad flowers gathered at the end of summer. In those times, that particular shade of blue was a treasure, a color that only the wealthy could afford. To Elora, though it is more than a color, it is the color of twilight, of the sky, right before the first stars appear. As she works, her mind drifts. She wonders about the woman who will wear this gown. Will she walk through candlelit halls, her sleeves brushing against stone walls polished by time? Will music play? Will laughter echo? Or will the gown hang in silence, its folds waiting patiently for a story to begin? Elora smiles faintly as she pulls the thread through again. The motion is hypnotic. In, out, in, out. The thread hums faintly, a sound only she can hear, a steady whisper that fills the stillness. Outside, the moon rises higher. The workshop is a pool of soft gold, surrounded by the deep blue of night. Shadows stretch long and slow. The air smells faintly of rain from earlier in the evening. She can hear the drip of water from the eaves, and the slow sigh of the wind curling around the doorframe. It is at this hour that the world becomes tender. The noises soften. The air feels almost alive with quiet. It is the kind of silence that listens back. Elora leans closer to her work. Her candle flickers, and for a moment the flame seems to breathe with her. She imagines that the wool beneath her fingers has a memory. Perhaps it remembers the sheep whose fleece it once was, grazing in the high pastures. Perhaps it remembers the hands that washed and carded it, the spinning wheel that turned it into thread. Every touch leaves a trace, every stitch a heartbeat. She hums a little tune that her mother once sang to her. It is an old song, older than she can remember, something about the sea and homecoming. Her voice is barely more than a breath, yet it fills the room with warmth. Somewhere outside, an owl calls once, low and soft. The sound echoes in the night like a question. Elora pauses for a moment and listens. She feels no fear, only calm curiosity. The candlelight moves across her face, across the wooden walls, and for a brief instant, the air seems to shimmer as if something unseen has stepped closer. She shakes her head gently and smiles. It is only her imagination, she thinks. Perhaps it is the hour. Midnight often plays tricks on the mind. But as she threads the needle again, she thinks she hears something, a faint, distant murmur. It sounds almost like voices drifting through the open window from far away. Not clear words, but soft tones, as though a conversation is taking place just beyond the edge of hearing. She tilts her head slightly, holding the needle still in her hand. The sound is there, and then gone again. The fire crackles, the candle hums, the world returns to stillness. Ilara exhales slowly. Her heart is steady. She picks up the fabric once more. Each stitch catches the light, then fades back into shadow. She begins to think that perhaps the sound came not from outside, but from the gown itself. Could cloth remember voices? Could it hold the echoes of the places it had been? She thinks of the noble halls where her master once worked, sewing banners for feasts and festivals. He had told her that fine cloth could listen, that it absorbed whispers and secrets, and that those who sewed long enough and late enough might one day hear them. Ilara smiles again, amused at the thought. Yet, as she bends her head to the fabric, she feels a faint vibration in the thread so subtle that she might have imagined it. The needle moves, soft and sure, and in its path she feels something like a pulse. The sound returns, faint but unmistakable this time. It is not a voice exactly, but something between sound and memory. It flows through the quiet like a sigh. It says nothing clear, yet its presence is calm, gentle, familiar. She whispers into the room. Is someone there? Only the fire answers, popping softly, a single ember rising and vanishing. Still, the air feels different, now warmer somehow, more alive. Ilara sits back in her chair and lets her hands rest in her lap. She listens again to the rhythm of her own breath, in, out, in, out. The pulse of her heart joins the ticking of the candle as it burns lower. Perhaps, she thinks, what she heard was only the sound of her own thoughts, softened by the hour and shaped by the quiet of her work. Or perhaps the gown truly does remember the world from which it came. Either way, she feels peaceful. The night folds itself around her like a gentle shawl. Outside, the rain has stopped completely. The air is clear, and the faint scent of wet earth drifts in through the window. She lifts the gown carefully, letting the folds fall through her fingers. The blue catches the light. It seems deeper than before, as if the fabric itself holds the night sky within it. Ilara smiles. You're listening to, aren't you? She whispers to the gown, and in the hush of the hour, she almost believes she hears a quiet answer. If these quiet tales are helping you drift off, a gentle like or a silent subscribe would mean the world. It helps this sleepy corner of the internet reach others who need a little calm too. I always wonder, where in the world are you listening from right now? If you're still awake, leave a whisper of a comment, maybe your city and the time on your clock. It's a beautiful thing, this quiet little global gathering, all connected through stories and stillness. Now, let's set the mood, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and get comfortable. Ilara sets the gown gently on the table and leans back, stretching her fingers. The fire has dimmed to a soft red glow, its warmth still lingering in the air. She takes a slow breath, the kind that reaches deep into the chest, and then fades into stillness. Around her, the night feels alive, yet hushed, like a room that is listening. She closes her eyes for a moment. The sound of rain has ended completely, replaced by the slow drip from the roof outside, like the ticking of a distant clock. The candle burns low, its flame steady now, its scent faintly sweet from the beeswax. Alara opens her eyes again and studies her work. The gown lies across the table in gentle folds, shimmering faintly in the firelight. She runs her fingertips across the fabric. It feels cool, smooth, and full of quiet promise. When she first began learning her craft, her teacher told her that every piece of fabric carries its own story. Wool remembers the mountain wind. Linen remembers the field and the sun. Silk remembers the hands that raised the silkworms. She had thought it a charming superstition. Tonight, she is not so sure. Ilara hums the tune again, the same soft lullaby her mother sang when she was small. The sound drifts through the room, rising and falling like a tide. The air seems to shift around her voice, as if the room itself is breathing with her. Her thoughts begin to wander. She remembers her mother's hands, rough but gentle, threading a needle in the same quiet way. She remembers evenings spent by the hearth, learning how to mend tears, how to smooth seams, how to find patience in small work. Those memories come to her like the slow turning of a wheel, steady and comforting. She glances toward the window. Outside, the clouds have thinned, and the moon shines clear. Its light spills across the wooden floor in soft streaks. In that pale glow, the workshop looks almost otherworldly, the tools gleaming faintly, the patterns rolled up neatly on the shelf, the faint curl of steam rising from her teacup. Everything feels suspended, weightless, quiet. She threads the needle again. The thread slides through, with a sound so soft, it's almost a sigh. She begins to sew once more, her hands moving on their own, guided by habit and rhythm. Each pull of the needle feels smoother than the last, as if the gown itself is helping her finish. And then she hears it, again so faint it might be mistaken for the wind, a whisper brushing against the edge of hearing. It comes from the fabric. Ilara freezes, her breath caught. The sound is not frightening. It is calm, steady, and melodic, like someone speaking far away through water. She leans closer, her heart slowing instead of racing. Her fingers rest lightly on the wool. The whisper grows clearer. It is not one voice, but many, layered together, soft murmured fragments that weave and overlap. She cannot make out the words, but she feels their meaning. It is not a warning, it is a memory. She closes her eyes and listens. Images rise in her mind. A banquet hall, lit by torches. A woman in the same blue gown, her laughter quiet but full of light. Musicians playing a gentle tune. The scent of wine and honey drifting through the air. The voices she hears belong to that place, to the moments that once surrounded the cloth. When she opens her eyes, the images fade, but the calm remains. She lets out a soft sigh and smiles to herself. "So you do remember," she whispers. "You really were listening all this time." The whispering fades slowly, replaced again by the crackle of the fire and the quiet rhythm of the night. Alara sits still for a long while, her hand resting on the fabric, her mind somewhere between waking and dreaming. She begins to speak softly, not to anyone in particular, but to the air, to the gown, to the silence itself. "You've seen more than I ever will," she murmurs. "You've been part of a world I can only imagine." Her voice is steady, but her eyelids grow heavy. The warmth of the fire lulls her further. The soft scent of wool and wax fills her lungs with each breath. Outside, the wind has died entirely, and the night is so still that even the sound of her heartbeat feels like part of the quiet music of the room. Her thoughts drift again toward the castle on the hill, toward the woman who will wear this gown, toward a life of candles and laughter and halls that echo with stories. She wonders if, years from now, this gown will once again return to her, carrying new whispers, new memories. She thinks of the color blue woad-dyed hue that seems to belong as much to the sky as to the earth. There is something infinite about it, something that stretches beyond centuries, like the calm between one breath and the next. She leans forward and traces the final seam. Her needle slides through one last time. The thread glides, tightens, and rests. The gown is finished. She sets the needle aside and watches the candle flame flicker. It trembles slightly, as if acknowledging her work. Elara smiles and feels the warmth of quiet pride bloom in her chest. She stands, stretching slowly. The floor creaks beneath her bare feet, a familiar sound. She walks to the small window and opens it just enough to let the cool air in. The night is beautiful, clear, vast, and filled with stars. A thin mist rises over the fields. The stream nearby murmurs gently, a sound so constant and soft that it seems to come from inside the earth itself. Elara rests her elbows on the windowsill. The cool air brushes her face, carrying the scent of wet grass and distant smoke. She breathes it in deeply. For a long moment, she simply stands there, listening. Somewhere far off, a nightingale begins to sing. Its song is low and full, a sound that fills the empty spaces of the night. Behind her, the candle flickers again. Its light moves across the gown, and for an instant, it seems as if the fabric shimmers in answer to the bird's song. Elara watches the movement of the flame reflected in the glass, and in that reflection, she thinks she sees another face, kind, faint, and familiar, as though someone from the past is watching with her. She does not turn around. She does not need to. The air is gentle. The moment feels sacred. The whisper that comes next is softer than breath. Just one phrase, spoken by no mouth she can see. "Thank you." Elara's lips curve into a peaceful smile. She closes the window, careful not to wake the candle's flame. The whisper fades, but the peace remains. The workshop feels warmer now, the shadows softer, the silence kind. She sits back in her chair, draws a light shawl around her shoulders, and gazes once more at the gown. It is ready. She feels her eyes growing heavy. The world begins to blur. The fire's glow blends with the candlelight, both shimmering like amber honey. Her hands rest quietly in her lap. Her breath slows, deepens, steadies. The room hums with the sound of calm. And as she drifts toward sleep, she thinks she can still hear it, the faint rhythm of thread and fabric, the quiet heartbeat of creation, still sewing, still whispering through the night. Elara's head tilts slightly as sleep begins to gather around her. The chair beneath her feels as though it's breathing, expanding and softening with every exhale she takes. The sounds of the workshop fade into one another, the faint hiss of the dying fire, the occasional creak of the rafters, the soft sigh of wind curling around the door. Everything has slowed, as if the night itself is rocking her gently into rest. Her mind drifts to places between dreaming and waking. In this half-space, the candlelight seems to shimmer with new colors. The blue gown glows faintly, deep as midnight, rich as the ocean. The shadows shift like threads of silk. Somewhere beyond the veil of sleep, Ilara hears it again, that gentle whisper. But now it is clearer, closer, speaking not in words, but in feelings, calm, gratitude, memory. She breathes in slowly. Her breath joins the rhythm of the voice, and for a moment she feels as if she is part of something much larger, an ancient rhythm of making, mending, and remembering. Then she finds herself standing, not in the workshop, but somewhere else entirely. She is in a grand hall lit by torches and golden sconces. The floor beneath her feet gleams like polished amber. Banners hang from the ceiling, and the air smells faintly of honey and wine. Musicians sit near the far wall, their instruments tuned to a soft, slow melody that seems to echo her heartbeat. Ilara looks down. She is wearing a blue gown. It fits her perfectly, flowing like water when she moves. The fabric glimmers, as if it remembers the candlelight of her small workshop. Around her, nobles speak in quiet tones. Their laughter ripples like the notes of a harp. A woman approaches her. Her face is gentle, her eyes bright and kind. She looks just as Ilara imagined, the noble woman who ordered the gown. But there is something familiar about her, something deeper than recognition. The woman speaks, her voice a soft murmur. "You listened." Ilara opens her mouth to reply, but no sound comes out. She doesn't need words. The understanding passes between them like a shared breath. The woman touches the sleeve of the gown. "Do you feel it?" she asks. Ilara nods. The fabric hums faintly against her skin. It feels alive, holding within it all the stories it has known: the shepherd's field, the loom, the dying vat, the quiet hands that shaped it. Every person who touched it has left a trace, and now she can feel them all, woven together. The woman smiles. "Every stitch carries a memory," she says, "and you've given it another." The music swells slightly, then fades back into calm. Around them, the hall grows brighter, the light warm and golden. The voices of the guests blur into a comforting murmur. Ilara closes her eyes, and the sounds melt into a single tone, like a thread pulled through cloth. When she opens her eyes again, she is back in her workshop. The fire has burned to embers. The candle is almost gone, a small pool of wax at its base. But the room feels different, lighter somehow, as though the dream has left behind something tangible. She looks at the gown. It rests across the table exactly as she left it, yet it seems softer now, as though it is breathing with her. She smiles and brushes her fingertips along the fabric. "Thank you," she whispers. The silence that follows is not empty, it is rich and full, humming with life. Ilara rises and tidies the table. She sets her tools neatly aside, the needle in its small wooden box, the scissors folded, the spool of thread placed carefully next to them. These are the instruments of her art, but they are also her companions. Each one has its own quiet personality, its own patience. She takes a piece of cloth and drapes it over the gown to protect it from dust. The motion feels ceremonial, like closing a book after reading a beloved story. The candle flickers again, and she watches the way the light wavers on the stone walls. It feels like a farewell, a promise, and a blessing all at once. She walks to the window again. The first faint traces of dawn are touching the horizon, washing the fields in pale silver. The night is almost over. The world is preparing to wake, but here, in her small workshop, time seems to linger. The sound of the stream outside is steady, rhythmic, soothing. It reminds her of the way thread moves through cloth, endless, fluid, connecting one moment to another. She whispers to the morning air, "May the one who wears this gown be safe. May the stories it holds bring her peace." Her voice is quiet but certain. The wish hangs in the air like smoke before it dissolves into stillness. Ilara steps back inside and lowers herself once more into her chair. She wraps her shawl around her shoulders and lets her eyes rest on the soft glow of the hearth. The last of the embers pulse faintly, like the slow beat of a heart. The warmth seeps into her skin, her breath steadies. She feels herself sinking again into that space where thought becomes drift, where the mind releases its hold on the waking world. She thinks about how every craft, every gentle act of making carries a quiet kind of love. The baker kneaded his bread, the mason shaping stone, the weaver guiding the shuttle through the loom, and the seamstress, alone at midnight, sewing dreams into fabric. Each action leaves behind more than a finished piece. It leaves peace. It leaves meaning. Ilara closes her eyes and lets that thought settle deep within her. The room breathes with her. The fire murmurs its last lullaby. Outside, the first bird calls faintly, testing the air of the coming day. And still, within the folds of the blue gown, the memory of the night remains the whisper, the dream, the quiet promise of gratitude. Ilara's breathing slows, her body softens, sleep gathers her gently, the way dusk gathers the last of the light. Her last thought before she drifts completely away is simple and true. Every stitch is a heartbeat. Every heartbeat tells a story. Then there is only stillness. The workshop falls silent, except for the faint rustle of the morning breeze slipping through the open window. It moves across the fabric like a blessing, lifting one fold of the gown just enough to catch the light. For an instant, the blue shimmers deep, endless, alive, and then it settles again, peaceful and still. The candle's flame bends once more and goes out. The story rests. The sun rose quietly that morning, soft and pale, brushing gold along the rooftops of the small village. Mist drifted lazily over the stream, curling through the trees like breath in cold air. The first birds began their morning songs, gentle, uncertain at first, then bright and sure as the light grew stronger. Inside the workshop, Ilara stirred from her sleep. She blinked slowly, her eyes adjusting to the light that filtered through the window. For a moment, she was unsure where she was. The memory of the dream, the grand hall, the noblewoman, the music lingered like perfume. It felt real enough to taste, yet it began to fade the longer she stayed awake. She straightened in her chair and rubbed her eyes. Her neck ached faintly from where she had fallen asleep, but the ache was soft, almost pleasant. It was the kind of tiredness that came from good work, from effort that mattered. Her gaze drifted to the table. The blue gown lay there still, its folds quiet and gleaming. In the morning light, it looked different, more serene, more complete. The color seemed deeper now, as if it carried both the night and the dawn inside it. Ilara smiled faintly. She remembered her dream again, how she had worn the gown, how it had come alive under the candlelight of that imagined hall. Perhaps it had been only her mind wandering through stories, or perhaps, as her old teacher used to say, the fabric itself had spoken. She stood slowly, stretching her arms above her head. The boards creaked under her bare feet, and the morning air brushed cool against her skin. The fire in the hearth had died completely, leaving behind a scatter of soft gray ash. She stirred it once with the poker, then let it rest. The world outside had begun to wake the distant sound of a cart rolling over cobblestones, a rooster calling from a nearby yard, the steady rhythm of footsteps as villagers began their day. Yet inside, her workshop held its own kind of hush, a quiet that felt sacred, almost holy. Ilara walked to the window and pushed it open. The air smelled of damp earth and blooming clover. The stream glittered in the distance, carrying the reflection of the sky. The peace of the morning settled over her shoulders like a shawl. She turned back to the gown and brushed her fingers gently along its sleeve. "You'll go to the castle today," she said softly, "and perhaps one day I'll hear your story again." She began to pack her things, a simple basket, lined with linen, in which she laid the gown carefully, fold by fold. Each movement was slow, precise, almost ceremonial. She placed a sprig of lavender between the layers, a small habit her mother had taught her to keep the fabric sweet and clean. Before leaving, she tidied her table. She wound the leftover thread around its spool, gathered the small scraps of blue wool, and placed her tools neatly in their drawer. The sound of each item finding its place felt satisfying, a rhythm of completion, of things returning home. When everything was ready, she lifted the basket and stepped outside. The sun had climbed higher, warming the stone path beneath her feet. The village stretched before her, simple and familiar, the baker's chimney already smoking, the blacksmith's hammer beginning its steady work, the faint chatter of women drawing water from the well. Ilara walked slowly, savoring the freshness of the morning. Each breath felt full and new. As she crossed the small bridge over the stream, she paused to watch the water slide beneath her. It made a sound like whispering silk, constant and soft. She smiled to herself. "Everything speaks, if you listen long enough," she murmured. The castle rose ahead, its towers reaching into the pale blue sky. She had seen it every day of her life, yet it never failed to inspire a quiet awe. The road wound gently upward through meadows dotted with daisies and early summer clover. As she walked, she thought again of the voices she had heard in the night. They hadn't frightened her, they had comforted her. Perhaps the whispers had been blessings, gratitude from the hands and hearts that had shaped the gown's journey. When she reached the castle gate, the guards recognized her at once. "The seamstress," one of them said kindly, opening the way. "The lady has been expecting you." Ilara nodded with a polite smile and entered the courtyard. Her footsteps echoed softly on the stones. Inside, the halls smelled faintly of roses and polished wood. Servants moved quietly about their duties, carrying trays and linens, their murmured voices blending into a soothing hum. She was led through a corridor hung with tapestries, great woven stories of kings and saints, of forests and angels. She paused briefly to look at one, tracing its design with her eyes. Each thread was perfectly placed, each color alive. She thought again of her own work and how every craft, no matter how small, added beauty to the world. Finally, she reached the lady's chamber. The noble woman stood near the window, her hair catching the light, her expression calm and curious. She turned as Ilara entered. "Ah," the lady said with a smile. "My gown." Ilara set the basket gently on a nearby table and lifted the gown out. It flowed like liquid light, catching every glimmer of the sun. The lady touched the sleeve, her eyes softening. "It's more beautiful than I imagined." Ilara bowed her head slightly. "The woad gave a deep color this year," she said quietly. "It carries the memory of the fields." The lady looked at her thoughtfully, as if she understood something beyond the words. You've given it life, she said. I can feel it. Ilara smiled faintly, her heart calm and full. Perhaps it listened while I sewed, she said. The lady laughed softly, a gentle sound that reminded Ilara of her dream. Then it will remember you too. The fitting went smoothly. The gown moved with grace, its folds falling perfectly. It seemed to belong to the lady as much as to the light that touched it. When it was done, the noblewoman looked into the mirror, then turned to Ilara. You've made something more than cloth, she said. You've made a story. Ilara felt warmth rise in her chest. Stories are what last, she said simply. The lady nodded and reached for her hand. Thank you. Ilara's fingers met hers. For a brief moment, something passed between them, quiet understanding, mutual respect, a kind of gratitude that needed no explanation. Then Ilara gathered her things and took her leave. As she walked back through the halls, her steps light and slow, she felt an immense peace settle inside her. The day outside had grown bright. Sunlight fell through the high windows, painting the floor in patterns of gold and shadow. When she stepped back into the village air, the breeze met her face gently, cool and sweet. The scent of the fields drifted around her again. She closed her eyes for a moment and listened. Somewhere, faint and far away, she thought she heard the soft hum of thread being pulled through cloth, a memory, or perhaps a blessing. She smiled and began the walk home, her basket empty, her heart full. The world moved slowly around her, quiet and kind. The same rhythm she had followed all night, the rhythm of breath, of work, of rest. Every step sounded like a heartbeat. And somewhere behind her, high in the castle, the blue gown shimmered in the light, whispering softly to itself, carrying forward every story it had ever known. Ilara returned to her workshop just as the afternoon sun softened toward evening. The village was alive with gentle activity, the hum of voices at the market, the faint ringing of the blacksmith's hammer, the occasional clatter of a cart on cobblestones. Everything felt steady, rhythmic, and familiar. She breathed deeply, letting the air fill her lungs and settle in her chest. Inside, the room smelled faintly of lavender and wool. The fire in the hearth had cooled, leaving the ashes soft and gray. She set her basket down and ran her fingers over the smooth wooden table. Each groove and notch told its own story, and she could almost hear the gentle echoes of past projects. Ilara thought of the gown she had delivered. She imagined the noblewoman wearing it, walking through the halls, feeling its smooth fabric against her skin, listening to the whispers of the threads. There was a gentle satisfaction in knowing that something she had made could bring calm and beauty into someone else's life. She moved to her shelf and picked up a spool of deep indigo thread. Her fingers traced the surface, feeling the soft texture and weight of possibility. Thread had always fascinated her, not just for its utility, but for the way it connected moments. One stitch linking another, one piece of cloth becoming whole. The candle flickered faintly as she placed it on the table. Its flame was small, steady, almost imperceptible, yet it drew the shadows closer and softened the edges of the room. She sank back into her chair, her hands resting lightly on her lap. Outside, the evening breeze carried the distant scent of wood smoke and wildflowers. Leaves rustled softly in the trees, and the stream murmured its steady song. Ilara closed her eyes for a moment and let herself drift with the rhythm of the world. She thought about the stories embedded in her work, the small memories woven into the fabric of her life. the fields where the woad grew, the hands that tended it. The soft rhythm of her sewing, all of it, seemed to hum together in quiet harmony. A soft tapping at the door drew her attention. She opened it to find a small child from the village, carrying a bundle of herbs and a shy smile. "I wanted to give you something," the child whispered. Elara knelt down to meet the little one's eyes. "Thank you," she said softly. "What is it?" The child unwrapped the bundle to reveal sprigs of lavender, rosemary, and thyme tied together with a piece of string. The aroma filled the workshop, calm and familiar, like the gentle comfort of home. Elara accepted the gift, inhaling the soothing scent. "It smells like evening," she said quietly, "like peace." The child nodded and ran off, leaving Elara with the small bundle and a lingering sense of quiet happiness. She set the herbs near the candle, letting their fragrance mingle with the warmth of the room. She picked up her needle and thread again, not with urgency, but with a gentle purpose. Each stitch was slow, deliberate, a meditation. The rhythm of the thread passing through the fabric matched the rhythm of her breathing, steady, calm, grounding. As she sewed, she imagined the voices she had heard the night before. They were not frightening or urgent. They were gentle, like wind brushing through trees, like the stream's murmur, like a lullaby. They spoke of patience, care, and quiet connection. Time seemed to stretch and soften around her. The shadows of the workshop grew longer, then shorter, following the subtle change in the candlelight. Each flicker of the flame drew the room closer, wrapping it in warmth and safety. Elara felt herself growing sleepy again, but this was a different kind of rest, peaceful, deep, and unhurried. The world outside continued its quiet rhythms, but inside everything slowed. Her hands rested on her lap for a moment, the needle still in her fingers, and she let the sensations of warmth, smell, and sound fill her senses completely. She remembered the way the blue gown had moved, the gentle folds of fabric, and the hum of memory within its threads. It was a reminder that everything she made carried a story, a trace of the maker's heart and spirit. The candle burned low, and Elara leaned back in her chair. The night crept softly into the room, bringing with it the comforting quiet of darkness. She listened to the soft rustle of leaves outside, the distant murmur of the stream, the faint hum of the village settling in for rest. Her thoughts slowed, one after another, like droplets of water falling into a still pool. The rhythm of her breathing matched the gentle cadence of the world, calm and even. She allowed herself to drift, to be carried by the soothing sounds and scents of her workshop. The fire's warmth lingered on her skin. The herb's fragrance filled the air. The memories of the night and the dream lingered softly, a quiet lullaby that settled into her mind. And as she drifted closer to sleep, she thought again of every stitch she had made, every story held in thread and cloth. Each one was a heartbeat. Each heartbeat is a quiet story. The world outside the window dimmed as dusk turned to night, but inside, the warmth and calm of the workshop remained. Elara's eyes closed fully now, her body soft and heavy, her mind gently floating between memory and dream. The candle's flame bent once more, then settled. The shadows danced softly against the walls, like whispers that had nowhere to go but to be seen and felt. The threads of her work seemed to breathe quietly, as if the fabric itself was exhaling the day's calm, and in that stillness Elara slept. The night deepened around the village, folding each street, each cottage, into a soft quiet. The moon rose pale and silver, scattering its light across the rooftops and the gentle curves of the stream. Ilara's workshop glowed faintly, the candle now a thin flame, steady and calm, casting gentle shadows that stretched and bent along the walls. Even in sleep, she seemed to hear the faint echoes of the voices from the night before. They were soft and soothing, like distant wind over fields, carrying stories she could almost remember. She dreamed of threads flowing like rivers through her fingers, each stitch connecting her to the people, places, and times she had known. Somewhere in that quiet dream, she saw the woad fields again. Their soft blue blooms swayed under a gentle breeze, petals brushing one another in whispered conversation. She imagined the hands that had tended them, planting, watering, harvesting, and the care that went into preparing the dye. Each flower seemed to hum a secret lullaby, and she let her mind float with the melody. The castle felt near in her dream, though distant, as if she were floating above it, watching the towers rise into the sky. In the grand hall, music played softly, muted by the distance. She could see the noblewoman walking, the folds of her gown moving like gentle waves. There was peace in every movement, as if the very walls exhaled calm. The workshop around her transformed in her sleep. The shadows of the walls became the soft hills and meadows of the village. The gentle crackle of the hearth became the distant murmur of a stream. Even the faint scent of lavender and wool seemed to expand, filling every corner of the dream with warmth and comfort. Ilara's hands, in the dream, moved without effort, sewing and shaping threads into patterns she had never imagined. The rhythm was slow and deliberate, as if the fabric itself guided her. She felt no urgency, no worry, only a calm flow of creation that matched the pulse of her own heart. Outside, the night creatures moved quietly. An owl glided across the moonlit sky, wings soft against the air. A fox padded along the edge of the woods, its footsteps muted by the fallen leaves. The wind whispered through the trees, rustling branches and leaves in a gentle, lulling pattern. Each sound was a note in the quiet symphony of night. In her dream, the voices she had heard the previous night returned. They were not words, not language, but feelings, gentle reassurance, soft encouragement, the sense that the work of her hands mattered, that beauty and care could travel far beyond her own understanding. She felt enveloped in a tender embrace of sound and sensation. The candle in the workshop sputtered once and then held. Its light bent softly across the table, illuminating the basket she had used for the gown. Even in the dream, she could feel the weight of the basket in her hands, the smoothness of the folded fabric, the faint perfume of lavender and woad. Each detail anchored her, a tether between dream and reality. Time in the dream seemed to stretch and fold. Minutes became hours, yet the calm never wavered. Her breathing slowed further, deep and even, matching the quiet rhythm of the world. Her body softened, and the sense of safety wrapped around her like a warm cloak. Ilara wandered through her dream workshop, now filled with fabrics of every color. Threads that shimmered in soft light, and the gentle hum of sewing needles. Each object seemed alive with memory, carrying echoes of past work, past care, past patience. She ran her fingers across them, feeling the gentle vibration of life within the cloth. She paused by a small window in her dream. Moonlight streamed through, scattering across the floor like silver dust. Outside, the village lay quiet, each house a small sanctuary. The stream mirrored the sky, a silver ribbon winding through the darkness. The wind brought with it the scent of herbs and wildflowers, comforting and familiar. A soft knock echoed in her dream, barely audible. She turned and saw the little child from the village standing quietly in the doorway, holding a bundle of herbs. The child's eyes shone in the dim light, calm and steady. Ilara smiled and took the herbs, inhaling their scent deeply. The calmness of the gift spread through her, filling every part of her being with gentle warmth. The child nodded, silent, and then disappeared into the shadows, leaving Ilara to wander the workshop once more. She felt the presence of the night, the gentle touch of the breeze, the soft brush of unseen hands guiding her work. Every thread, every stitch, every fold was imbued with care, a lullaby that carried her further into rest. She settled at her table once more, even in the dream, and let her hands move slowly, sewing without thinking. The rhythm was hypnotic, a repetition that soothed her mind and body. Each pass of the needle through the fabric was a heartbeat, steady and calm, carrying the memory of the night and the day before. Outside, the village slept. Stars sparkled softly in the darkened sky, their light like quiet sparks of wonder. The stream sang its soft song, the leaves whispered, and the wind hummed gently. Everything moved in harmony, a gentle symphony designed to carry the world to rest. Ilara drifted deeper, her dream blending seamlessly with her reality. The workshop, the castle, the woad fields, the little child, the noblewoman, they all existed together in soft light and gentle movement. She felt no hurry, no urgency, only the peace of being exactly where she was meant to be. The candle burned lower still, and shadows settled fully, folding the corners of the workshop into quiet dark. Each sound, each scent, each motion became a part of the gentle rhythm of night, guiding her toward full rest. Her hands finally stilled, her breathing slowed to the rhythm of the world outside. The voices, now fully gentle and whispering, sang their quiet song of comfort and care. Every thread she had ever sewn seemed to murmur softly, each stitch a lullaby, each fold a memory of calm. Ilara's mind floated on the soft currents of the night. She could feel the presence of the gown, the castle, the fields, and the workshop all mingling together in her consciousness. There was no distinction between dream and waking, only the gentle flow of quiet and warmth. And so, wrapped in the soft embrace of night, the hum of thread and fabric, the distant song of the stream, and the whisper of leaves, Ilara slept fully and peacefully. The night deepened further, and the quiet of the village seemed to stretch like a soft velvet blanket across rooftops and gardens. A gentle breeze moved through the trees, rustling leaves so lightly that it sounded like a whispered song. Ilara remained asleep, her chest rising and falling slowly, matching the calm rhythm of the world outside her workshop window. In her dream, the workshop transformed once again. It became a larger, more expansive space, with rows of tables draped in colorful fabrics and baskets filled with spools of thread that seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. Each spool hummed a quiet note, like a secret melody that only those who worked with care could hear. The soft sounds mingled with the whisper of the wind, creating a gentle lullaby that carried through the room. Ilara walked among the tables, her fingers brushing across the fabrics. She felt the texture of wool, silk, and linen beneath her fingertips, each one telling its own story. She imagined the artisans who had spun and dyed these materials, the patience and dedication that had gone into every fiber. Each touch was a connection across time, a soft echo of hands long gone but remembered in their craft. She came upon a window where moonlight spilled across the floor in long, silvery beams. Beyond the glass, the woad fields shimmered, petals swaying lightly in the breeze. The blue flowers seemed to murmur in unison, a chorus of calm that filled the air with a serene rhythm. She knelt by the window and inhaled deeply, letting the fragrance of the fields mingle with the lingering scent of lavender and wool inside the workshop. A soft, almost imperceptible tapping drew her attention. She turned to see a small wooden box resting on a nearby table. It was unadorned but somehow seemed important. The lid shifted slightly, as if inviting her to look inside. She opened it slowly, revealing a collection of tiny, delicate charms made from threads, beads, and small metal trinkets. Each charm seemed to carry a memory, a stitch, a smile, a moment of quiet care. Ilara picked one up, feeling its smooth surface and intricate pattern. She imagined it in the hands of a noblewoman, or perhaps a child, carrying a whisper of her workshop with them. Each charm seemed alive with the soft hum of possibility, a gentle reminder that small, thoughtful acts could ripple outward in unexpected ways. The candle flickered, casting long, dancing shadows across the walls. The shadows seemed to move in harmony with the rhythm of her breath and the soft tapping of the wind against the window. Every movement, every sound, every faint vibration contributed to a feeling of deep, enveloping calm. In her dream, the little child from the village appeared again, carrying another bundle of herbs. The child's eyes held a quiet understanding, a shared sense of the world's gentle beauty. Ilara accepted the herbs and felt the warmth of their scent wrap around her, mingling with the soft fragrance of the fabrics. She placed them carefully near the candle, watching as the flame bent toward them, casting a gentle glow across the room. She returned to her sewing, her hands moving with deliberate care. Each stitch was slow, meditative, and rhythmic. The sound of the needle passing through fabric was soft and satisfying, a heartbeat echoing in the quiet of the night. She imagined the threads themselves listening, holding the stories of everyone who had touched them, weaving them into the fabric of the present. Outside, the stream continued its soft murmur, carrying the reflection of the moon along its surface. Leaves brushed against one another in the wind, and the distant call of an owl punctuated the serene silence. Every sound was muted, gentle, and perfectly timed to lull a weary mind into rest. Ilara's dream shifted once more. She found herself walking along a narrow path between the woad fields and the forest. The petals of the flowers brushed against her fingertips, and the grass was soft beneath her feet. The air was cool but comforting, filled with the scents of earth, flowers, and distant wood smoke. She listened to the faint hum of insects and the whisper of the breeze, letting each sound settle into her mind. Along the path, she saw glimpses of the castle towers in the distance, their stones glowing softly in moonlight. The windows reflected tiny sparks of light, like distant stars coming to rest on earth. She felt no urgency to reach them, only a slow, measured desire to wander and take in the calm beauty of the night. A gentle rustling from the forest caught her attention. She turned slightly, seeing a small family of deer stepping softly through the underbrush. They moved with careful grace, their eyes bright and calm, their presence a quiet reminder of the gentle balance of the world. She watched them for a moment, feeling her heart slow in tandem with their deliberate movements. Ilara resumed her walk, her thoughts soft and drifting. She felt the pulse of life around her, in the stream, the trees, the animals, the flowers, and in herself. Every breath she took was a connection to this rhythm, a reminder that she belonged to the world's gentle, unfolding story. The night grew quieter, still. Shadows lengthened and receded, the silver light of the moon glinting off the woad fields. Each detail seemed amplified in its calmness, every texture, sound, and scent enhanced in its soothing simplicity. She allowed herself to float with it, carried effortlessly on the quiet currents of night. The candle inside the workshop finally flickered low, the flame bending once, twice, then settling. The warmth from the hearth mingled with the fragrances of herbs and fabric. Every object in the room seemed to breathe softly with her, echoing the rhythm of her heartbeat and the pulse of the world outside. Her eyelids grew heavier in her dream, soft folds of consciousness blending with the calm of the night. She felt safe, cradled in the quiet, wrapped in the soft glow of candlelight. The gentle aroma of woad and lavender, the distant whisper of leaves and stream. In this perfect stillness, Ilara drifted further, deeper, allowing herself to be carried completely by the serenity surrounding her. Every sound, every shadow, every breath became part of a gentle lullaby, guiding her into rest so profound it felt like floating among clouds of memory and dreams. And so she slept, fully and deeply, embraced by the soft rhythm of night, the hum of her workshop, and the timeless whisper of threads and fabrics, carrying all of her gentle thoughts into quiet peace. The night outside continued its quiet vigil, gentle and steady. The village lay wrapped in darkness, the soft glow of distant windows, like scattered lanterns floating on a calm sea. The breeze moved through the trees with a whispering hush, carrying with it the subtle scents of earth, herbs, and flowers. Inside her workshop, the candle burned low, casting a soft, golden light that seemed to melt the edges of the room. Ilara remained in her deep, peaceful sleep. In her dream, she walked among the tables filled with fabric, her hands brushing over the textures of cloth as if greeting old friends. The threads seemed to hum softly, each stitch a gentle echo of the care and attention she had poured into her work. She imagined the life of each thread, from its origin as a plant or fiber to the moment it became part of something larger, woven into meaning and purpose. Through the window of her dream, the moonlight poured in, illuminating the indigo woad blooms that stretched across the fields beyond the village. They swayed as if in time with her breath, petals moving in quiet unison, murmuring soft secrets that only she could understand. The flower's color was deep, almost impossible, holding a calm that penetrated to her bones, wrapping her in serenity. A soft rustle of fabric caught her attention. She turned and saw a gown suspended in mid-air, its folds moving as though stirred by an invisible breeze. The threads glowed faintly in the moonlight, each one holding the stories of the people who had worn it, the hands that had sewn it, and the quiet care that had gone into its creation. She reached out, her fingertips grazing the smooth wool, and felt the calm hum of memory vibrate beneath her touch. Ilara wandered through the workshop, noticing details she had never consciously observed before. Tiny stitches hidden in seams, faint traces of dye, the gentle curl of cloth edges, they all seemed to whisper softly, telling her that every small act of care mattered. Each sound of her movement, the soft brush of fabric against her skin, was amplified in a soothing rhythm, lulling her deeper into sleep. Outside, the wind carried the sound of distant streams, and the faint murmur of night creatures. A fox's soft steps on fallen leaves, the occasional hoot of an owl, the rustle of grass in the breezle, combined into a gentle orchestra. Ilara felt the world's rhythm echo within her, steady and comforting, like a lullaby she could follow without thought. In her dream, the little child appeared once more, carrying a small lantern that glowed faintly. The light was warm, like a soft caress, casting long shadows that danced across the walls. The child moved slowly, deliberately, placing the lantern beside the indigo gown. Ilara noticed how the glow brought out subtle details in the fabric, highlighting tiny stitches and the delicate shimmer of woad dye. The child's presence was calm and reassuring. Ilara knelt to meet them, feeling a sense of connection that transcended words. Together they watched the gown, letting the gentle warmth of the lantern and the soft hum of the night fill the space. It was as if the world itself had paused, allowing them to breathe in the quiet beauty of creation. Her fingers itched to sew again, but she let them rest. She focused instead on the sensory details, the flicker of the flame, the faint scent of herbs, the touch of fabric against her skin, the soft vibrations of threads beneath her fingertips. Each sensation was a note in the lullaby of the night, guiding her mind into deeper calm. Time in the dream seemed to stretch and bend. Hours passed like slow-moving clouds, and each moment was infused with quiet purpose. Ilara felt herself floating above the workshop, yet still connected to every object, every thread, every memory. She felt the pulse of life within the materials, the gentle heartbeat of her own care woven into the world. The candle flickered low, and its light mingled with moonlight, creating a soft, enveloping glow. Shadows moved gracefully along the walls, curving and folding like gentle waves. The sounds outside the stream, the breeze, the distant night creatures, blended with the soft hum of her work, forming a seamless symphony of calm. Ilara's eyelids grew heavy, even within the dream. Her mind, unburdened by worry or urgency, allowed itself to drift further, carried by the slow, rhythmic pulse of her environment. Each breath, each heartbeat, became part of the flowing lullaby of the night, a melody meant only for those willing to notice the small, gentle details of the world. She thought of the noblewoman who had worn her gown, the child who had brought herbs, the fields of woad, and every stitch she had ever sewn. Each memory was like a pebble dropped into still water, sending concentric ripples outward, gentle and quiet. The ripples merged, creating a soft, continuous motion that lulled her further into rest. Ilara felt the warmth of the hearth, the faint aroma of lavender, and the comforting weight of the fabrics she had touched. Each sensation settled into her body like a tender embrace. The sounds of the night outside, once distant, now seemed to flow through her, synchronizing with the soft rhythm of her breathing. Her dream shifted again. She was walking through the woad fields, the petals brushing against her fingers and face in soft, delicate motion. The flowers' hum resonated with her heartbeat, each note carrying a sense of calm and timelessness. She moved slowly, savoring each sensation, each whisper, each quiet note of the world. A deer stepped gracefully across the field, its eyes reflecting the silver light of the moon. Its movement was gentle, deliberate, and unhurried, reminding her that life itself could be soft and measured. She watched, breathless, letting the calm of the animal's presence fill her completely. Ilara's hands moved again, lightly, not sewing, but brushing over the fabric of the gown in her dream. Each touch brought a gentle shiver of connection, a quiet understanding of how care, patience, and attention traveled invisibly through the world. The threads seemed to respond, vibrating softly with memories, each one a heartbeat in the lullaby of night. The moon continued its slow journey across the sky, casting pale silver light into every corner of the workshop and the fields beyond. Each shadow, each flicker of candlelight, each faint rustle of leaves contributed to a rhythm designed to cradle the mind into the deepest rest. Ilara's breathing slowed further, her body sinking fully into the comfort of her bed, her mind floating among threads, fabrics, fields, and memories. Each sensation, each whisper, each heartbeat worked together to create a cocoon of calm, guiding her ever deeper into sleep. And in that perfect, quiet harmony, she continued to drift, embraced fully by the gentle rhythm of night, the warmth of candlelight, the fragrance of herbs and woad, and the soothing presence of all the lives past and present, touched by her hands. The night stretched on, calm and unbroken, as though the world had paused to listen to its own quiet song. The village slept under a blanket of soft darkness, the occasional flicker of candlelight in a window like a tiny heartbeat. Outside, the wind moved gently through the trees, brushing leaves together with a barely audible rustle. Even the stream seemed to murmur softer than usual, as if it too were mindful of the peace settling over the land. Ilara remained asleep, her body still and relaxed, her mind wandering through the dreamscape that had become her sanctuary. The workshop shimmered around her in a hazy glow, the candlelight mingling with silver moonbeams that spilled across the tables of fabric. Each piece of cloth glimmered faintly, colors deep and rich, woven with a sense of care that seemed almost alive. She wandered slowly among them, fingers brushing lightly over wool, silk, and linen. Every texture felt soft and warm under her touch, carrying the faint memory of the hands that had shaped it. She imagined the dye baths, the stirring of threads, and the meticulous work of other seamstresses who had spent hours perfecting their craft. It was a quiet tribute to patience, skill, and gentle attention, and the knowledge of it wrapped her mind in tranquility. Through the window, the woad fields glimmered in the moonlight, petals swaying softly. The blue of the flowers seemed to pulse like a slow heartbeat, resonating with the rhythm of the night. The air smelled faintly of earth, flowers, and the subtle temps of distant rain, calming her senses further. She took a slow, deep breath in her dream, feeling it move through her, a bridge between the world inside the workshop and the serenity outside. A soft, rhythmic tapping drew her attention. Ilara turned and saw the wooden box from before, the one filled with charms and tiny trinkets. It was open now, as if inviting her to explore. She knelt and lifted one of the charms gently, feeling its weight and texture. It seemed to hum faintly under her fingers, as though containing the echoes of countless quiet moments, stitched and tied into its delicate form. The charm reminded her of the small joys in the world, the laughter of children, the warmth of a familiar hearth, the scent of herbs drying in the sunlight. She held it close, letting its calm energy flow through her, filling her mind with soft, vivid images. The rhythm of her breathing slowed further, her heartbeat merging with the gentle pulse of the workshop around her. The candle flickered once, twice, casting shadows that danced like slow-moving waves. She watched them for a while, fascinated by the play of light and dark, the soft fluidity of shapes that seemed almost alive. Each movement was hypnotic, a quiet lullaby for the eyes, soothing her further into the embrace of sleep. In her dream, the little child appeared again, carrying a small bundle wrapped in cloth. The child approached slowly, stepping softly on the wooden floor, the light from their lantern casting a warm glow. Ilara smiled in her dream, feeling an unspoken understanding pass between them. The child's presence was steady, gentle, and comforting, a living reminder that kindness and care could carry through every act, no matter how small. Together, they walked to the center of the workshop, where the indigo gown hung suspended in soft light. The gown's folds moved lightly, as if breathing, threads shimmering faintly in a slow, hypnotic dance. Ilara reached out, tracing a finger along one fold, feeling the softness and resilience of the fabric. Every touch seemed to resonate through her, a gentle echo of the hands that had sewn it, the hearts that had worn it, and the care woven into every seam. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, mingling with the faint murmur of the stream. The sound was calming, rhythmic, and steady. Leaves brushed against one another like soft fabric. The occasional bird stirred from its roost and settled again, and the distant hum of night insects added a gentle background chorus. Each sound, subtle and delicate, combined to form a symphony of peace that filled every corner of her dream. Ilara knelt by the candle once more, inhaling the faint fragrance of herbs, wax, and wool. She felt the warmth of the flame touch her cheeks, soft and gentle. Her hands rested lightly on her knees, and she allowed herself to sink fully into the calm, letting the sights, sounds, and scents of the workshop carry her deeper. She imagined the threads themselves breathing, pulsing softly with every stitch, every moment of care ever given to them. Each thread, each fabric, each piece of cloth held its own quiet story, a memory that could be felt more than seen. She ran her fingers lightly along the hem of a gown, feeling a soft vibration, as if the memories themselves were whispering to her, reminding her that life's small details held immeasurable beauty. The night outside was deep and still, the moonlight reflecting on the wode fields in soft silver patterns. Ilara walked slowly among the flowers, her bare feet brushing the cool earth and soft petals. Each step released a faint, fragrant scent into the air, mingling with the gentle hum of her heartbeat. She felt perfectly safe, held in the embrace of the world's calm energy. Every worry melting away like dew under morning sunlight. A fox moved silently across the field, its soft paws making no sound on the grass. It paused for a moment, looking toward Ilara with calm, intelligent eyes. She smiled softly, feeling a shared sense of quiet understanding. Its presence was gentle and unobtrusive, a reminder that the natural world moved at its own deliberate pace, and that in its stillness there was infinite peace. Ilara continued her slow walk, the gentle sway of woad blooms brushing her fingers and legs. The breeze carried the faint hum of the stream, the subtle rustle of leaves, and the distant, muted song of nightbirds. All of it merged into a soft, soothing rhythm that seemed to synchronize with her own breath, guiding her gently deeper into rest. She returned to the workshop, where the candlelight flickered faintly, casting long, comforting shadows. The warmth from the hearth mingled with the cool night air drifting in through the window. Ilara felt her body relax fully, the tension of the day and the thought of tomorrow melting into the soft, enveloping calm of the moment. The little child knelt beside her, placing the bundle of herbs carefully near the candle. The fragrance rose and mixed with the scent of woad and wool, creating a calm, heady atmosphere. Ilara reached out to touch the bundle, feeling the texture of dried petals and soft leaves, each one a gentle reminder of the world's quiet beauty. She leaned back, letting her head rest against a soft cushion, and allowed herself to drift with the rhythm of the candlelight, the rustle of fabric, the hum of threads, and the soft whispers of the night outside. Each sound, each scent, each gentle movement lulled her deeper, carrying her fully into the serene embrace of sleep. The candlelight flickered softly, as though it were breathing in time with the night. Shadows moved gently along the walls, forming shapes that seemed to sway like slow, quiet dancers. Outside, the breeze rustled through the trees, carrying with it the faint scent of moss and damp earth. Even the stars seemed to blink softly, distant and calm, as if watching over the sleeping village. Ilara remained in the warmth of her dream, her mind drifting through the familiar workshop. The fabrics around her glimmered faintly, each one alive with the memory of creation. She ran her fingers across the folds of wool, silk, and linen, feeling the subtle textures and the quiet resonance of every stitch. It was as though the threads themselves had a heartbeat, a slow, steady rhythm that matched her own. In her dream, the little child moved gracefully among the tables, arranging small objects with care. Each piece seemed to hum with a gentle energy, a quiet presence that reassured her with every movement. The child smiled softly at her, and Ilara felt a deep sense of calm, as though every worry and thought that had once clouded her mind had been lifted away. A soft murmur of voices drifted through the room, barely audible, like whispers carried on the breeze. Ilara listened carefully and realized the voices belonged to the gown itself. Each thread seemed to carry a story, faint echoes of the noble halls it had touched, the hands that had stitched it, and the hearts that had worn it. The murmurs were soft and melodic, a lullaby made of memories, gently drawing her deeper into tranquility. She moved to the window and looked out over the woad fields, their indigo petals shimmering under the moonlight. The flowers swayed slowly, in perfect harmony with the wind. Each petal seemed to vibrate softly, creating a faint, melodic hum that mixed with the gentle sound of the stream nearby. The air was cool and soothing, carrying the faint aroma of flowers and damp earth, wrapping her in a cocoon of calm. Ilara's hands brushed lightly over the folds of the gown, feeling the subtle vibrations of countless tiny stitches. She imagined the hours the seamstress had spent on each piece, the careful attention and the patient, loving work. Each stitch felt like a heartbeat, steady and slow, reminding her that even small, quiet acts could hold great significance. The child handed her a small lantern, its light warm and steady. Ilara carried it to the center of the workshop and placed it beside the gown. The glow illuminated the fabric, revealing the delicate patterns of thread and dye, the careful alignment of seams, and the soft shimmer of woad under the light. She could almost hear the stories woven into every inch of cloth, a gentle chorus that hummed softly in her ears. Outside, the night deepened, and the sounds of the world softened even further. The stream murmured gently, leaves rustled like whispered secrets, and the occasional owl called softly in the distance. Each sound blended with the rhythmic hum of the gown's threads, forming a calm, steady symphony. Ilara felt herself becoming part of this quiet harmony, her body and mind sinking fully into rest. She knelt by the candle once more, inhaling the soft scent of wax, herbs, and woad. Each breath she took seemed to carry away tension and worry, replacing it with a deep, unshakable calm. The warmth of the candle, the gentle hum of the threads, and the serene energy of the workshop wrapped around her like a soft blanket. Her eyes drifted shut, and in her dream she walked among the fabrics once again. She felt the soft sway of the threads, the smooth touch of wool, and the faint vibrations of memories humming through each stitch. The child followed silently, their presence a comforting anchor in the gentle currents of the dream. A fox passed by the window, its movement slow and deliberate. Its soft paws barely made a sound on the ground, and it disappeared into the night as quietly as it had come. Elara watched for a moment, breathing in the calm energy it seemed to leave behind. Even the smallest creatures, she realized, moved with a quiet rhythm that contributed to the world's gentle flow. She returned to the center of the workshop, kneeling beside the gown. The lantern's warm glow highlighted the intricate beauty of the stitches, and Elara imagined the countless hands that had contributed to its creation. Each one seemed to whisper softly, reminding her that care, patience, and attention were threads that connected all lives, past and present, in quiet harmony. The candle flickered, and shadows shifted gracefully, forming a gentle dance on the walls. Ilara's body relaxed fully, sinking into the comfort of her surroundings. She let her mind drift, focusing on the soft glow of the lantern, the hum of the threads, the gentle rustle of the night, and the soothing rhythm of her own breath. Outside, the moonlight bathed the woad fields in soft silver. Petals brushed against one another, moving in time with the wind. The distant stream continued its lullaby. The leaves whispered, and the faint song of night birds blended into the serene symphony of the world. Every detail felt deliberate and soothing, as though the universe itself had conspired to create the perfect environment for rest. Elara leaned back against the soft cushion near the hearth, feeling the warmth seep into her body. The little child sat beside her, their presence calm and reassuring. Together, they watched the gentle movement of shadows, the glow of candlelight, and the quiet dance of the woad petals in the moonlight. Her mind, unburdened, floated freely among the gentle details of the night. Each stitch in the gown, each leaf outside, each soft whisper of air became a note in a lullaby that carried her deeper and deeper into rest. Her heartbeat slowed, her breathing evened, and she felt completely at peace, cradled by the soft embrace of the night and the warmth of the workshop. The threads of the gown seemed to hum in perfect synchrony with her heartbeat. The candlelight flickered slowly, and the night outside remained calm and steady. Elara let herself sink fully into this gentle harmony, feeling the quiet pull of sleep as it guided her gently, softly, toward dreams that were warm, comforting, and endless. Elara's mind floated in a soft, timeless space where the workshop and the night outside merged seamlessly. The gentle flicker of the candlelight painted the walls in slow, graceful movements, and the shadows that danced across them seemed almost alive, breathing with a quiet, steady rhythm. Outside, the woad fields shimmered under the moon, petals swaying like waves, and the soft whisper of the stream added a subtle melody to the night. In her dream, she wandered slowly among the tables of fabric, her fingertips brushing lightly over the folds of wool, silk, and linen. Each texture felt warm and alive under her touch, carrying the echoes of hands that had crafted them carefully, patiently, with love. She imagined the seamstresses of long ago, dipping woad in water and stirring threads until the perfect shade of blue emerged. The slow, repetitive motion of their work was mirrored in her own breathing, steady and calm. The little child appeared beside her, holding a small wooden box filled with trinkets and charms. Its lid creaked softly as they opened it, revealing tiny objects that glimmered faintly in the candlelight. Ilara reached in and lifted a small charm, feeling its gentle weight and the subtle vibration of memories stored within. Each charm seemed to hum a quiet story of patience, care, and quiet joy, a story that intertwined with her own sense of calm. She carried the charm to the center of the workshop, placing it beside the gown. The blue wool shimmered softly in the glow of the lantern, threads pulsing faintly like the slow, steady beat of a heart. The hum of the charm blended with the gentle rhythm of the gown's threads, creating a lullaby that resonated through the room. Every stitch, every fold, every soft shimmer of color seemed to carry a soothing energy, a gentle reminder of the beauty in careful, patient work. Outside, the night was a symphony of subtle sounds. The wind rustled, the woad petals, leaves brushed gently against one another, and the stream sang its quiet, meandering song. A distant owl called softly, its voice blending with the night's quiet symphony. Ilara felt the calm of these sounds permeate her entire body, each note sinking into her muscles and joints, relaxing her fully. She knelt by the candle again, inhaling the warm, comforting scent of wax, herbs, and woad. Each breath seemed to release a little more tension, letting her sink deeper into rest. She could feel the gentle energy of the workshop surrounding her, wrapping around her like a soft blanket, holding her safely as her body and mind relaxed completely. In her dream, the child guided her to the window, where she gazed out over the woad fields, bathed in moonlight. The petals swayed slowly in the breeze, each movement like a gentle wave, and the cool night air brushed against her face, refreshing and soothing. She imagined herself walking through the fields, the soft ground cool beneath her feet, the petals brushing her legs, and the faint hum of the flowers syncing with her heartbeat. A fox appeared, stepping lightly over the grass, its movements deliberate and quiet. Ilara watched it pause, eyes calm and intelligent, before it disappeared again into the darkness. The quiet presence of the fox added to the sense of peace, a reminder that even in the smallest movements, the world maintained a steady, comforting rhythm. Returning to the workshop, she found the candlelight flickering gently, shadows dancing softly on the walls. The little child knelt beside her, arranging charms and small objects with care, and Ilara felt a deep sense of comfort from their quiet presence. Every movement, every sound, every flicker of light contributed to the serene, hypnotic rhythm of the space. Her attention returned to the gown, the indigo wool glowing softly in the lantern's light. She traced the threads with her fingers, feeling the gentle vibrations of countless stitches, each one carrying a story, a memory, a moment of care. It was as though the gown itself was alive, breathing softly in time with her own heartbeat, and she felt a profound sense of calm from the connection. The night outside continued its lullaby. The stream murmured quietly, leaves brushed gently against one another, and the faint song of insects filled the distance. The gentle rhythm of the natural world combined with the hum of threads, the soft flicker of candlelight, and the careful, loving presence of the child to create an enveloping sense of serenity. Ilara let herself sink fully into this calm, focusing on the slow, steady beat of her own heart, the gentle sway of shadows, and the faint vibration of the gown's threads. Each breath was deep, slow, and steady, carrying her further into a sense of peace that seemed to stretch beyond time. She imagined herself floating above the workshop, looking down at the gentle light, the swaying petals, and the tiny, comforting movements of the night creatures. The world below moved at a deliberate, soothing pace, and she felt perfectly safe and cradled in its rhythm. Every sound, every scent, every flicker of movement contributed to a sense of perfect harmony. As she drifted, her thoughts slowed and softened. The hum of threads, the scent of woad and wax, the gentle flicker of candlelight, and the soft swaying of petals outside all merged into one seamless, calming experience. Her body and mind surrendered completely to the gentle pull of sleep, letting go of tension, worry, and the weight of the day. The little child smiled softly at her from the shadows, a quiet guardian of peace in the candlelit room. Ilara felt the warmth of their presence, the reassuring hum of the gown, and the gentle rhythm of the night, all combine to create an unshakable sense of serenity. She closed her eyes fully, letting herself drift deeper into dreams that were gentle, comforting, and filled with quiet wonder. The workshop seemed to breathe with her as she drifted, the candlelight swaying gently, painting soft, warm patterns across the wooden walls. Shadows stretched and receded slowly, as if dancing to a melody only they could hear. Outside, the moon hung low and luminous in the sky, casting silver ribbons across the woad fields. Each petal shimmered softly, moving in perfect harmony with the night breeze, and the distant stream sang its quiet, endless song. Ilara's fingers traced the delicate patterns of the gown once more, feeling the faint vibration of each stitch. Each thread seemed to carry a memory, a whisper of moments long past, yet alive in the quiet present. She imagined the noble halls where the gown had been worn, the soft rustle of silk against stone floors, the hushed conversations of those who had passed through. The threads hummed these tales gently, like lullabies meant to soothe and calm. The little child returned, carrying a small bundle of herbs tied in soft linen. The scent of lavender and chamomile drifted through the air, mingling with the subtle aroma of the woad. Ilara inhaled slowly, letting the fragrance sink into her senses. Each breath brought deeper relaxation, as though the world itself was encouraging her to release tension and drift further into peace. They moved together to a small bench near the hearth, where the warmth radiated softly, melting any remaining tightness from her shoulders and back. Ilara placed her hands gently over the bundle of herbs, imagining their gentle, calming energy spreading through her body. The soft crackle of the fire provided a rhythmic backdrop, perfectly in sync with the quiet hum of the threads and the gentle sway of shadows across the walls. Outside, the breeze carried faint whispers from the woad fields. Petals brushed together softly, leaves rustled gently, and distant crickets added their subtle voices to the symphony of night. Ilara imagined walking barefoot through the fields, the soft grass cool beneath her feet, petals brushing against her legs, and the hum of nature weaving a melody into the air. Each sound and sensation deepened her sense of calm, grounding her in the gentle flow of the night. She returned to the center of the workshop, kneeling by the gown, her fingers brushing lightly over the wool. The threads pulsed faintly, each stitch a heartbeat in harmony with her own. She felt the gentle vibration of centuries of care, patience, and attention, and it wrapped around her like a comforting embrace. The gown seemed to whisper, softly, reassuringly, that she was safe, that she was cared for, and that she could let herself drift freely into rest. The candle flickered once more, its light, soft and warm. Shadows moved across the walls in a slow, hypnotic dance, and the little child sat beside her, arranging charms and tiny trinkets with deliberate, soothing movements. Ilara watched, her breathing deepening, her muscles loosening, and a profound sense of serenity settling over her. She imagined herself floating slightly above the workshop, observing the calm scene below. The gentle sway of shadows, the warm glow of the candle, the subtle vibration of the threads, and the rhythmic hum of the stream outside, all blended into one perfect lullaby. Every detail seemed designed to soothe, each sound and movement carefully orchestrated to guide her into deep, restorative sleep. A soft knock echoed at the door, quiet and deliberate. Ilara imagined opening it slowly, the wooden hinges creaking just enough to add a faint, comforting sound. Outside stood a fox, its eyes glinting softly in the moonlight. The creature paused, its presence calm and gentle, and then disappeared into the night, leaving behind a sense of quiet wonder and peaceful continuity. Back in the workshop, she returned to her meditation on the gown, the threads, and the gentle rhythm of the room. The candlelight shimmered softly across her face, the hum of stitches and the rustle of fabric creating a lullaby all their own. The child's small movements, arranging herbs and charms, added to the sense of deliberate, gentle motion. Every action, sound, and visual detail contributed to a cocoon of calm, enveloping Ilara completely. Her mind drifted further, merging with the gentle flow of the night. The moonlight on the woad petals, the steady rhythm of her own heartbeat, the soft crackle of the fire, and the distant song of the stream outside created a perfect balance of sensory peace. Each element reinforced the other, creating a seamless, hypnotic experience that encouraged her body to relax fully and her mind to let go completely. She felt as though she were floating among the threads, moving effortlessly with the gentle pulse of the gown. Each stitch, each fold, each soft shimmer of woad under the candlelight seemed alive with memory and care. She inhaled slowly, feeling the gentle vibrations of centuries of hands, hearts, and whispered stories, and exhaled fully, letting go of every last trace of tension. The little child reached out and placed a soft hand on her shoulder, a quiet, grounding presence. Ilara felt warmth and reassurance spreading from that touch, wrapping her completely in a sense of calm and security. The candlelight reflected softly in their eyes, and for a moment the world felt perfectly still, perfectly quiet, and perfectly safe. Outside, the night deepened, and the symphony of subtle sounds continued. The stream's gentle song, the whisper of leaves, the soft rustle of petals, and the occasional call of a distant owl created a rhythm that was steady, comforting, and unending. Each sound was a note in the lullaby of the night, guiding her further into calm, deep rest. Ilara's thoughts softened completely. The hum of threads, the flicker of candlelight, the subtle movements of shadows, and the gentle presence of the child merged into a single, calming current. She let herself drift fully into this serene rhythm, allowing her mind and body to become weightless, floating on the gentle tide of the night. The gown pulsed softly in the lantern light, threads vibrating with quiet stories of care, patience, and quiet joy. Each heartbeat of the gown seemed to echo her own, reinforcing the steady rhythm of calm and peace. She surrendered fully, letting the soft whispers of fabric and memory carry her toward deep, restorative sleep. Outside, the night deepened and quieted even further. The breeze softened, The stream slowed its pace, and the rustling leaves became faint, almost imperceptible. The world felt suspended in a serene, timeless moment. Ilara's thoughts drifted along with the calm, her body fully relaxed, each muscle melting into the comfort of the hearth's warmth and the gentle rhythm of the night. She imagined herself floating lightly above the workshop, observing the glow of candlelight, the swaying shadows, and the delicate shimmer of woad petals outside. The little child moved quietly below, a soft presence of guidance and reassurance. The threads of the gown pulsed in harmony with her heartbeat, creating a continuous, soothing rhythm. Every detail of the room, every whisper of movement, every flicker of light contributed to a sense of complete safety and calm. Ilara felt herself drifting further into the gentle embrace of sleep. The hum of threads, the faint scent of lavender and woad, the slow flicker of candlelight, and the rhythmic murmur of the stream outside became a perfect, continuous lullaby. She let go fully, allowing her mind to float on the quiet currents of the night, weightless and serene. A soft, golden glow seemed to surround the workshop, bathing every surface in warmth and safety. The child placed a tiny hand on her arm, a grounding presence in the quiet dreamscape. Ilara felt a sense of profound peace, knowing she was enveloped by gentle rhythms, tender care, and the timeless stories woven into every thread of the gown. The candle flickered once more, and the shadows moved slowly across the walls, dancing with deliberate calm. Outside, the moon continued to watch over the woad fields, petals brushing softly in the breeze. The stream sang quietly, leaves whispered in harmony, and the faint song of night creatures filled the distance. Every sound, every movement, every vibration was part of the lullaby, guiding Ilara ever deeper into rest. Her body and mind melted fully into the comfort of the moment. The threads beneath her fingers vibrated with quiet stories. The candlelight shimmered softly, and the little child's gentle presence reassured her completely. Ilara surrendered fully to the night, letting sleep draw her slowly, gently, like a soft wave carrying her into dreams that were endless, warm, and comforting. Ilara's eyelids felt heavy, as though each blink carried her a little further into the calm embrace of the night. The candlelight flickered with a tender rhythm, sending gentle shadows across the worn wooden walls. Outside, the woad petals swayed softly in the moonlight, brushing lightly against each other in a whispering dance. The distant murmur of the stream blended with the rustle of leaves, creating a slow, soothing melody that filled the night with serenity. She leaned closer to the gown, her fingers tracing the deep blue wool as if listening to its quiet heartbeat. Each stitch seemed to hold the memory of centuries, whispering tales of careful hands, patient hearts, and gentle minds. Ilara imagined the seamstresses of old, dipping threads into woad dye and watching the color deepen slowly, a process that required quiet attention and endless patience. The story of their care flowed through the wool, humming softly, guiding her own thoughts into calm. The child moved silently to the hearth, placing another small bundle of herbs beside the flickering candle. The aroma of chamomile and lavender spread through the room, settling over her like a soft blanket. She inhaled slowly, letting each breath deepen her relaxation, filling her chest with warmth and releasing every trace of tension. Every sound, every smell, every gentle movement around her seemed designed to encourage the mind to release and the body to sink fully into rest. Ilara closed her eyes briefly, feeling the rhythm of the night around her. The hum of threads beneath her fingers, the crackle of the fire, and the faint chorus of insects outside all blended together, a lullaby of the world that seemed to pause only for her. Her thoughts slowed, and a sense of floating came over her, weightless and calm. The gentle pulse of the gown seemed to match the slow beat of her own heart, creating a perfect symmetry of rhythm and rest. She imagined herself walking through the moonlit woad fields, the petals brushed softly against her hands and feet, the cool grass cushioning her steps. The stream's gentle song followed her along the path, weaving a quiet harmony with the soft murmur of leaves. She moved slowly, deliberately, each motion echoing the stillness of the night and the calm within her own body. Returning to the workshop, she knelt by the gown once more, letting her fingers linger over the soft threads. The subtle vibration of the stitches felt alive beneath her touch, a gentle hum of stories that had traveled through centuries. She pictured the noble halls where such fabrics were treasured, imagining the whispers and laughter of times long past. Each story, though faint and distant, wrapped around her in a tender cocoon of calm. The child sat beside her, quietly, arranging tiny trinkets with slow, mindful movements. Each placement added a soft, meditative rhythm to the room. Alara watched, breathing deeply, feeling herself sink with the pace of the motions around her. The world had become a gentle, flowing space where every sound, light, and movement encouraged serenity and deep relaxation. Outside, the night deepened into a softer, almost silent calm. The breeze softened, the stream slowed, and the rustling leaves became a subtle whisper. The moon cast a gentle silver glow across the woad fields, petals swaying with effortless grace. Alara felt as though she were floating above it all, watching the quiet beauty of the night, perfectly safe, perfectly at peace. The threads of the gown pulsed faintly under her fingertips, a soft vibration that echoed through her body. She imagined the pulse traveling from the fabric into her hands, her arms, and her heart, carrying with it centuries of care, patience, and quiet devotion. Every heartbeat, every soft brush of wool, every flicker of candlelight became part of a harmonious rhythm designed to lull her fully into sleep. The candle flame wavered slightly, sending delicate waves of light across the workshop. Shadows danced softly, stretching and contracting in a hypnotic rhythm that complemented the subtle hum of the threads. The child reached out to touch her arm, a small gesture of reassurance and calm. Alara felt the warmth spread from that touch through her entire body, deepening her sense of serenity and grounding her in the gentle flow of the night. Her mind drifted, merging with the quiet pulse of the room. The hum of threads, the flicker of candlelight, the sway of shadows, and the distant song of the stream outside blended seamlessly into a lullaby. She felt herself floating on the rhythm of the night, weightless, calm, and free from all worry. Each breath she took was slow and deliberate, carrying her further into a state of perfect relaxation. The moonlight poured softly through the window, illuminating the woad fields beyond. Alara imagined the petals swaying in time with her breathing, each motion gentle and rhythmic. The stream continued its steady song, the leaves whispered softly, and the faint night creatures added their delicate voices to the symphony. Everything around her harmonized with the beat of her heart, guiding her slowly, gently, toward deep, restorative sleep. She settled fully beside the gown, her head resting lightly against the soft wool. The threads pulsed softly, the candlelight flickered, and the child's presence remained quietly comforting. Ilara surrendered completely to the night, letting the gentle rhythms of the workshop, the fields, and the streams carry her into dreams filled with warmth, safety, and serenity. Ilara's breathing became slow and even, each inhale drawing in the gentle warmth of the hearth, and each exhale releasing any remaining tension. The candlelight shimmered across the walls, casting delicate dancing patterns that seemed to breathe with the rhythm of the room. Outside, the woad petals swayed softly under the silvery moonlight, their movement a quiet, almost hypnotic dance. The distant stream's gentle song mingled with the faint rustle of leaves, forming a natural lullaby that wrapped the night in calm. She touched the threads of the gown again, feeling their soft texture and subtle vibrations beneath her fingers. Each stitch seemed to carry a story, a memory of hands that had worked patiently centuries ago. Carefully weaving deep blue wool dyed with woad, Ilara imagined those seamstresses quietly moving in candlelit workshops, their hands steady, their minds focused, each movement a meditation in care. The gown hummed their patience and tenderness, and she felt it surround her like a protective, gentle embrace. The child moved quietly to the far corner of the room, tending to a small pot of chamomile tea. Steam rose slowly, curling through the warm air and blending with the faint scent of lavender still lingering from the previous bundles. Ilara inhaled the calming fragrance, letting it settle deep into her lungs. Each breath carried with it a wave of relaxation, grounding her further into the stillness of the night. She leaned back, listening to the subtle symphony of the workshop, the hum of threads, the soft crackle of the fire, and the distant stream outside merged into a seamless melody of calm. Shadows flickered gently across the walls, stretching and shrinking in time with the candlelight. The soft sounds of the child's movements added a delicate, rhythmic note, as if the night itself was performing a slow, soothing dance around her. Ilara imagined stepping outside for a moment, barefoot among the woad fields. The grass felt soft and cool beneath her feet, and the petals brushed gently against her hands as she walked. The moonlight created silver paths on the ground, guiding her steps without hurry. The stream's quiet song followed her along, a companion to her slow, deliberate movements. She felt completely at peace, fully immersed in the gentle rhythm of the natural world. Returning to the workshop, she knelt beside the gown, letting her fingers drift lightly over the soft threads. Each stitch seemed to vibrate faintly, pulsing with the care and attention of generations. She imagined the noble halls where the fabric had once been treasured, the hushed conversations, and the quiet moments of wonder. Each whisper of the past, carried by the threads, wrapped her in a gentle cocoon, safe and warm. The child sat beside her again, placing tiny charms carefully along the edge of the table. Every movement was slow, deliberate, and precise, creating a quiet, meditative rhythm that complemented the gentle pulse of the threads. Ilara's mind synced with the pace, her own thoughts and breathing aligning with the calm motion around her. The workshop seemed to exist in a perfect suspension of time, a sacred space of serenity and gentle, unbroken stillness. Outside, the night deepened, and the world became a softer, quieter place. The breeze slowed to a gentle whisper, the stream's song softened, and the leaves barely rustled. The moon hung low in the sky, its silver light spilling over the fields, illuminating the woad petals that swayed in harmony with the night. Ilara felt as though she were floating above it all, embraced by the quiet beauty of the world, perfectly safe, perfectly serene. The threads beneath her fingers pulsed softly, a subtle vibration that echoed through her own body. Each heartbeat of the gown seemed to sync with her own, creating a rhythmic, calming cadence. She felt the energy of care and patience from centuries past flow gently through her, a comforting reminder that she was part of a long chain of quiet, tender moments. Every breath, every movement, every sound guided her deeper into relaxation. The candle flame flickered gently, sending delicate waves of light across the workshop. Shadows stretched and receded slowly, almost as if they were breathing in sync with the room. The child reached out and placed a soft hand on Ilara's arm, a grounding presence that radiated warmth and reassurance. She felt a profound sense of calm, knowing she was surrounded by gentle rhythms, patient care, and a timeless serenity that belonged only to this quiet night. Her mind drifted completely, merging with the slow pulse of the workshop, the flickering candlelight, and the soft glow of moonlit woad fields outside. The threads hummed softly beneath her fingers, the fire crackled faintly, and the distant stream continued its gentle song. The child's quiet presence remained beside her, a steady, reassuring companion in the soothing, hypnotic space of the night. Ilara's body felt weightless, her muscles soft and relaxed, as if every remaining trace of tension had melted away. She imagined herself floating gently above the workshop, above the fields, above the stream, surrounded by calm, quiet light. The world itself seemed to have slowed, every sound and movement perfectly timed to encourage rest and deep, restorative sleep. Finally, she settled fully beside the gown, her head resting lightly against the soft wool. The threads pulsed faintly with the gentle stories they carried. The candlelight flickered, and the child's presence radiated calm. Ilara surrendered completely to the night, letting the steady rhythm of the workshop, the fields, and the streams carry her into a world of dreams filled with warmth, safety, and peace. Ilara felt the gentle warmth of the candlelight and the soft pulse of the threads beneath her fingers. The night outside had grown quieter, almost hushed, as though the world had paused to allow her complete calm. The moon hung low in the sky, spilling a silver glow over the woad fields, each petal swaying gently in the soft, nocturnal breeze. The stream whispered nearby, a slow and soothing melody, and the leaves rustled faintly like a soft sigh in the night. She ran her fingers lightly along the gown, letting the deep blue wool slide beneath her touch. Each stitch carried an echo of patience and care, the hands of seamstresses long gone whispering through the threads. Ilara imagined them moving quietly, dipping wool into woad dye, watching it darken with deliberate attention. That care and focus now seemed to reach her across the centuries, settling softly over her mind and body like a comforting, warm blanket. The child, a quiet presence at her side, picked up a small brush and gently swept away the tiny scraps of thread on the table. Each movement was slow and intentional, a simple rhythm that matched the soft hum of the workshop. Ilara inhaled the faint scent of chamomile and lavender, letting it settle deeply into her chest. Each breath became a wave, carrying her further into stillness, releasing every trace of tension in her shoulders, her arms, her back. She leaned back slightly, listening carefully to the symphony of the room, the soft crackle of the fire, the faint hum of threads, the distant murmur of the stream outside, and the rustle of leaves combined into a soothing lullaby. Shadows danced quietly across the walls, stretching and retreating with the flicker of the candlelight. The workshop felt timeless, a safe and gentle space where every sound, light, and movement existed solely to bring calm. Ilara pictured herself walking barefoot through the woad fields under the moonlight. Each step was deliberate and slow, the soft grass cushioning her feet, petals brushing lightly against her hands. The stream's song followed her along the path, merging with the rustling leaves in a harmonious, quiet rhythm. She moved in perfect synchrony with the night, her body relaxed, her mind gentle and unhurried, each motion carrying her deeper into tranquility. Returning to the workshop, she knelt once more beside the gown, letting her fingers linger over the soft threads. The wool seemed to vibrate faintly, humming with the memory of centuries of careful hands. She imagined the noble halls where such fabrics had been treasured, the quiet whispers that once brushed along stone corridors, and the hush of admiration for the deep blue hue. Each imagined sound and movement wrapped her in a cocoon of calm, a tender, timeless space that belonged solely to the night. The child continued their quiet work, arranging small charms along the edge of the table with meticulous care. Each movement added a soft, deliberate rhythm to the room, a gentle pattern that Ilara's mind could follow effortlessly. She felt her own thoughts slow, each one becoming soft and unhurried, blending perfectly with the calm motions around her. Time seemed to stretch and pause, allowing her to exist fully in this space of serenity and quiet rest. Outside, the night deepened, the world settling into an almost sacred stillness. The breeze slowed to a delicate whisper, the stream's song softened, and the leaves barely rustled at all. The moonlight shone over the woad fields, petals moving with perfect, rhythmic grace. Ilara felt as though she were floating above it all, a quiet observer embraced by the stillness, perfectly safe and enveloped by calm. The threads beneath her fingers pulsed faintly, echoing softly with her heartbeat. Each vibration carried a sense of connection, of continuity, and of care spanning generations. She felt the quiet patience and dedication of those who had worked with this wool long ago, a tender presence that flowed gently through her body and mind. Every sound, every light, every subtle movement encouraged her to relax, to release, and to drift further toward sleep. The candle flickered softly, sending gentle waves of light across the workshop. Shadows moved slowly with it, stretching and contracting in a hypnotic rhythm. The child reached out with a small, reassuring touch on her arm, grounding her in the peaceful, slow cadence of the night. Ilara felt warmth and calm radiate from that contact, deepening her sense of security and relaxation. Her mind floated freely now, merging with the quiet pulse of the workshop, the soft glow of candlelight, and the silvered woad fields outside. The threads hummed faintly, the fire crackled in the background, and the stream continued its gentle song. The child remained quietly beside her, a steady presence in the soft, hypnotic rhythm of the night. Ilara's body felt completely at ease. Every muscle was soft, every thought slow and gentle, and the world seemed to exist in perfect harmony with her breathing. She imagined herself floating lightly above the workshop, drifting over the fields, following the soft moonlight. Every sound, movement, and sensation guided her into deeper rest, carrying her slowly, gently into the embrace of dreams. Finally, she settled fully beside the gown, head resting lightly against the soft wool. The threads pulsed faintly beneath her fingers, a subtle rhythm filled with centuries of care and quiet devotion. The candlelight flickered gently, shadows moving in a soft, unbroken dance. Elara surrendered completely to the night, letting the steady pulse of the workshop, the woad fields, and the distant stream guide her into a world of warmth, safety, and calm dreams. Elara's mind was a soft, drifting cloud, floating effortlessly above the gentle pulse of the workshop. The candlelight flickered steadily, casting slow, undulating shadows across the walls. Outside, the woad petals swayed softly in the silver moonlight, brushing against each other with a quiet, rhythmic grace. The distant stream whispered its slow, continuous song, blending with the faint rustle of leaves to create a lullaby of stillness. Her fingers lingered over the deep blue wool, tracing the soft texture of the gown. Each stitch seemed to vibrate with subtle memories of the hands that had made it long ago. She imagined the medieval seamstresses carefully dipping wool into the rare woad dye, watching it darken with patience and precision. The threads carried that care gently through time, a quiet pulse that resonated through her body, easing every tension and inviting complete relaxation. The child arranged a small bundle of dried lavender near the candle. The subtle fragrance spread through the room, mingling with the warm scent of the fire and the faint aroma of chamomile. Elara inhaled slowly, letting each breath carry her deeper into a calm, comforting rhythm. The room seemed to breathe with her, expanding and contracting in harmony with her slow, steady pulse. She leaned back slightly, listening closely to the gentle symphony of the night. The hum of the threads, the crackle of the fire, the soft rush of the distant stream, and the faint whisper of leaves all merged into a harmonious lullaby. Shadows danced delicately across the wooden walls, stretching and retreating with a fluid motion. The workshop had become a sanctuary of stillness, a timeless space where every sight, sound, and movement encouraged tranquility. Elara imagined herself walking barefoot through the moonlit woad fields. Each step was slow and deliberate, the soft grass cushioning her feet. The petals brushed gently against her hands, leaving faint trails of color and scent. The stream's quiet song accompanied her along the path, a companion to her serene movements. Every breath she took, every motion she made, became part of the night's gentle rhythm, grounding her in perfect calm. Back in the workshop, she knelt beside the gown once more, letting her fingers glide over the soft wool. The threads vibrated faintly with memories of centuries, whispering soft tales of patience, care, and quiet devotion. She imagined the noble halls where such fabrics had been treasured, hearing faint echoes of hushed conversation and gentle laughter from long ago. Each imagined sound wrapped around her, a tender embrace that encouraged her mind and body to rest deeply. The child continued their quiet work, moving slowly and mindfully, arranging tiny charms and brushes along the edge of the table. Each motion added a soft, meditative rhythm to the space. Alara's own breathing synchronized with the deliberate, gentle pace, her thoughts slowing in perfect harmony. The night seemed suspended in this timeless, serene space, allowing her to exist fully in stillness and quiet. Outside, the world had settled into an almost sacred calm. The breeze had softened to a gentle sigh. The stream's song was delicate and steady, and the leaves rustled only faintly. Moonlight poured over the woad fields, petals moving in slow, rhythmic harmony. Elara felt as if she were floating above it all, wrapped in the stillness, perfectly safe and fully at peace. The threads beneath her fingers pulsed with a soft, almost imperceptible rhythm. Each beat seemed to sync with her own heartbeat, a soothing cadence that carried her mind and body further into relaxation. She felt the presence of the hands that had crafted the gown, the patience and care stretching through centuries, wrapping around her like a gentle blanket. Every breath, every subtle sound, every movement guided her closer to deep, restorative sleep. The candle flickered gently, sending waves of soft light across the workshop. Shadows moved slowly, stretching and contracting in a hypnotic rhythm. The child's hand rested briefly on Ilara's arm, a reassuring touch that radiated warmth and safety. She felt completely held by the night, grounded by the gentle rhythm of the workshop, the soft glow of candlelight, and the steady pulse of the threads. Her mind floated, blending with the slow rhythm of the night, the gentle hum of the gown, the soft crackle of the fire, the distant song of the stream, and the quiet movements of the child formed a perfect lullaby. Ilara felt her body weightless and loose, her muscles completely relaxed. She imagined herself gliding over the workshop, floating across the woad fields, following the moonlight, each motion slower and calmer than the last. Finally, she settled fully beside the gown, her head resting lightly on the soft wool. The threads hummed gently beneath her fingertips, the candle flickered, and the child's presence remained quietly comforting. Ilara let herself sink fully into the night, allowing the rhythms of the workshop, the fields, and the streams to carry her into a world of peaceful dreams. She drifted, weightless, calm, and safe, enveloped by centuries of gentle care and patience. Ilara's breathing was slow and even, each inhale carrying the gentle warmth of the candlelit workshop, each exhale releasing all lingering tension. The threads beneath her fingers pulsed softly, a quiet heartbeat echoing through the centuries, connecting her to every seamstress who had ever worked with woad-dyed wool. Outside, the moonlight shimmered across the fields, glinting on the tips of petals, and the faint sound of the stream created a lullaby that seemed to ripple through the night. The child moved quietly, stacking small bundles of lavender and chamomile in a neat corner. The faint fragrance mingled with the warmth of the fire, wrapping the room in a comforting aroma. Ilara inhaled deeply, letting the calming scents settle in her chest and wash gently through her body. She felt herself melt further into relaxation, her muscles soft, her mind quiet, as though the night itself was holding her in a gentle embrace. She ran her fingers slowly over the gown, tracing each stitch with deliberate, tender attention. Every thread seemed alive with history, vibrating faintly with the care of hands that had worked centuries before. She imagined the seamstresses dipping wool into the rare woad dye, watching it darken to deep, midnight blue with quiet patience. Each imagined movement, each imagined breath of the past seemed to settle in the room with her, a soft and protective rhythm that encouraged calm and stillness. Leaning back slightly, she allowed herself to simply listen. The gentle hum of the threads, the fire's soft crackle, the whisper of leaves outside, and the stream's steady song all merged into a single, soothing soundscape. Shadows from the candle danced gently across the walls, stretching and shrinking in a slow, hypnotic rhythm. Time felt suspended, each moment lingering in perfect, gentle stillness, inviting her deeper into relaxation. Ilara pictured herself walking through the moonlit woad fields once more, the soft grass pressed gently against her bare feet, petals brushing against her hands in a delicate caress. The stream's song followed her, harmonizing with the faint whisper of leaves in a natural, unhurried rhythm. Her steps were slow, deliberate, and unhurried, each one guiding her body and mind into a deeper state of peace. Returning to the workshop, she knelt beside the gown again, letting her fingers glide lightly over the soft wool. The threads seemed to hum quietly, carrying centuries of care and patience. She imagined the noble halls where such fabrics had been treasured, hearing faint echoes of whispers, laughter, and quiet admiration long ago. These imagined sounds wrapped around her mind like a soft blanket, creating a cocoon of serenity that made her feel completely safe. The child continued their careful work, placing tiny charms and brushes along the edge of the table. Every motion was deliberate, slow, and soft, creating a gentle rhythm that synchronized perfectly with Ilara's own breathing. She felt her thoughts slow, drifting like gentle clouds, perfectly in harmony with the quiet, tender movements around her. The night seemed eternal in this sacred, still space, a world where every sight, sound, and motion existed to bring peace and calm. Outside, the night deepened further. The breeze was a whisper, the stream a gentle murmur, and the leaves barely rustled at all. Moonlight spilled over the woad fields, illuminating the petals as they swayed with serene, rhythmic grace. Ilara felt herself floating above it all, weightless and calm, enveloped by the stillness and beauty of the night. The threads beneath her fingers pulsed faintly, syncing with her own heartbeat in a slow, soothing cadence. She felt the presence of the hands that had created the gown, their patience and care stretching across time, wrapping her gently in a comforting embrace. Every sound, movement, and breath guided her deeper into rest, allowing her mind to drift effortlessly toward dreams filled with warmth and serenity. The candle flickered softly, sending gentle waves of light across the workshop walls. Shadows stretched and contracted slowly, a hypnotic dance that matched the rhythm of her breath. The child's small hand rested briefly on Ilara's arm, radiating quiet warmth and reassurance. She felt completely supported by the night, grounded by the rhythms of the workshop, the soft glow of the candle, and the steady, gentle pulse of the threads beneath her fingers. Her mind floated freely, merging seamlessly with the rhythm of the room, the soft flicker of the candlelight, and the silvered woad fields outside. The hum of the gown, the crackle of the fire, the distant song of the stream, and the child's quiet movements formed a perfect lullaby. Ilara's body was completely relaxed, her muscles soft, her thoughts slow and unhurried. She imagined herself gliding over the workshop and fields, following the moonlight as it traced gentle paths across the earth. Finally, she settled beside the gown, resting her head lightly on the soft wool. The threads hummed gently beneath her fingers, the candlelight flickered softly, and the child's presence remained quietly comforting. Ilara let herself drift fully into the night, allowing the gentle rhythms of the workshop, the woad fields, and the distant stream to carry her into dreams. She floated, calm and safe, wrapped in centuries of quiet care and patience, ready to rest fully and peacefully. Ilara's breathing had grown deeper and slower, each inhale carrying the warmth and gentle scent of the workshop, each exhale letting go of any lingering tension. The candle flickered softly, casting shadows that stretched across the walls in a slow, soothing rhythm. Outside, the moonlight poured over the woad fields, turning the petals into soft pools of silver and blue. The distant stream murmured quietly, its gentle song blending seamlessly with the faint rustle of leaves, creating a tranquil melody that seemed to cradle her very thoughts. Her fingers rested lightly on the gown, tracing the deep blue threads with tender care. Each stitch carried the quiet echo of centuries, a delicate rhythm that pulsed softly beneath her touch. She imagined the hands of seamstresses long ago, dipping wool into rare woad dye, watching it transform into midnight blue with patient attention. The threads seemed alive with history, vibrating gently with their care, and Alara felt each vibration seep into her body, relaxing her shoulders, her arms, and her back. The child continued their careful work, arranging tiny bundles of lavender and chamomile along the edge of the table. The subtle fragrance mingled with the warm scent of the fire, filling the workshop with a soothing aroma. Alara breathed deeply, letting the calm scents settle into her chest and spread slowly throughout her body. Every inhale and exhale became a soft wave, carrying her further into relaxation, easing her mind and inviting her to drift gently toward sleep. She leaned back slightly, listening to the gentle symphony of the room, the soft hum of the threads, the faint crackle of the fire, the distant murmur of the stream, and the whisper of leaves, all merged into a harmonious lullaby. Shadows flickered lightly on the walls, moving slowly as if dancing to the rhythm of her breath. The workshop had become a sanctuary, a timeless space where every sound, every light, and every subtle movement encouraged stillness and calm. Alara imagined herself walking barefoot through the moonlit woad fields. Each step was slow, deliberate, and soft against the lush grass. Petals brushed gently against her hands, leaving faint traces of color and a gentle scent. The stream's song followed her, merging with the soft whisper of leaves, creating a natural, unhurried rhythm. Every motion, every breath, and every sensation guided her deeper into peace, grounding her in the quiet beauty of the night. Returning to the workshop, she knelt beside the gown once more, letting her fingers glide over the soft wool. The threads pulsed faintly, carrying whispers of care, patience, and quiet devotion from centuries past. She imagined the noble halls where such fabrics had been treasured, hearing faint echoes of whispers, gentle laughter, and quiet admiration. These imagined sounds wrapped around her mind like a soft, protective blanket, allowing her thoughts to settle and drift gently. The child's movements were slow and deliberate, arranging brushes and charms along the edge of the table. Each motion created a subtle rhythm, a gentle cadence that harmonized perfectly with Ilara's breathing. Her thoughts slowed, drifting like soft clouds in a gentle breeze. The night seemed suspended in perfect stillness, a timeless sanctuary where every sound, sight, and movement existed solely to bring peace and relaxation. Outside, the night deepened, enveloping the woad fields in a serene, silvery calm. The breeze was a delicate whisper, the stream murmured steadily, and the leaves barely rustled at all. Moonlight spilled over the fields, illuminating the petals with a tranquil, rhythmic grace. Alara felt weightless, as if floating above the fields and workshop, completely surrounded by stillness and safety. The threads beneath her fingers pulsed in gentle harmony with her heartbeat. She felt the quiet presence of the hands that had created the gown centuries ago, their care and patience stretching through time to comfort her. Every sound, every movement, every subtle sensation guided her further into restful calm. The candle flickered softly, shadows moving slowly across the walls in a hypnotic dance, each flicker matching the rhythm of her breath. Her mind floated freely, merging with the soft pulse of the workshop, the gentle candlelight, and the silvered woad fields outside. The threads hummed faintly beneath her fingertips, The distant stream whispered, and the child's presence remained quietly reassuring. Her body was completely relaxed, every muscle loose, her thoughts slow and unhurried. She imagined herself gliding over the workshop and fields, following the moonlight, carried gently into dreams. Finally, Ilara rested fully beside the gown, her head touching the soft wool. The threads hummed quietly beneath her fingers. The candlelight flickered softly, and the child's presence radiated a gentle warmth. She let herself drift fully into the night, letting the rhythms of the workshop, the woad fields, and the distant stream guide her into peaceful, comforting dreams. Weightless and calm, she floated, wrapped in centuries of quiet care and patience. Completely safe and ready for a night of restful sleep. Ilara's body was heavy with complete relaxation, yet her mind felt light and free, drifting gently as though carried on a soft breeze. The candlelight flickered quietly, its warm glow spreading slowly across the wooden walls of the workshop. Outside, the moon bathed the woad fields in a serene silver light, and the petals swayed ever so slightly, rustling softly in a whispering harmony. The stream murmured a calm, steady song, as if it had waited all night to carry her into perfect stillness. Her fingers lingered on the deep blue wool, tracing the delicate stitches with a tenderness that seemed to merge past and present. She imagined the medieval seamstresses quietly dipping wool into woad dye, their hands patient and deliberate. Every thread vibrated faintly with their care, sending a soft, reassuring pulse through her body. The centuries of gentle attention wrapped around her like a comforting blanket, and she felt every worry, every tension dissolve into the night. The child had settled nearby, quietly arranging tiny charms and bundles of herbs in a rhythmic, soothing manner. The faint aroma of lavender and chamomile mixed with the warmth of the candle and fire, creating a gentle cocoon of calm. Ilara breathed deeply, each inhalation carrying peace, and each exhalation releasing the last traces of tension. She let her thoughts drift slowly, like clouds floating across a calm sky, aware only of the soft sounds and the gentle rhythm of the night. She imagined herself standing once more in the moonlit woad fields, barefoot, feeling the soft grass beneath her feet. Petals brushed gently against her hands, releasing faint traces of color and delicate scent. The stream sang quietly nearby, and the leaves whispered a lullaby with each slight movement. She walked slowly, deliberately, letting the rhythm of her steps, her breath, and the quiet world around her carry her deeper into rest. Returning to the workshop, she rested beside the gown, letting her head touch the soft, richly dyed wool. The threads hummed faintly beneath her fingertips, carrying centuries of care, patience, and quiet devotion. She imagined the echoes of noble halls, whispers and laughter long past, folding softly into the room. The imagined sounds wrapped her in serenity, like a gentle tide, moving her further toward a tranquil, dream-filled sleep. The candle flickered its last subtle wave, sending shadows across the walls in a slow, peaceful dance. The child's quiet presence, the gentle crackle of the fire, the distant song of the stream, and the soft hum of the gown all blended into a single, calming rhythm. Ilara felt completely held by this harmony, her body loose, her mind still, floating effortlessly in a cocoon of warmth and gentle light. Her thoughts became soft and distant, drifting like mist over the woad fields, merging with the silver glow of moonlight. Every breath, every heartbeat, every faint vibration of the threads pulsed with soothing rhythm. She felt weightless and safe, completely enveloped by the care, patience, and quiet beauty of centuries. The workshop, the fields, and the soft, whispering night had become a sanctuary where she could rest without concern, floating gently toward dreams. Finally, Ilara allowed herself to drift fully into sleep. Her body melted against the soft wool of the gown, her mind adrift in a serene, gentle current of moonlight, fragrance, and quiet sounds. The threads hummed softly beneath her fingertips, the candlelight flickered and faded to a comforting glow, and the night wrapped around her like a soft, endless embrace. The child's gentle presence remained a quiet reassurance, and the world outside held a tender stillness. The workshop, the woad fields, the stream, and the leaves all breathed in unison with her, guiding her deeper into rest. Ilara floated, calm, safe, and weightless, drifting through centuries of quiet care and tender attention. Every stitch, every thread, every soft sound became part of her lullaby, carrying her fully into the comfort of dreams. And in this quiet, timeless sanctuary, she slept, wrapped in the gentle hum of history, the flickering glow of candlelight, and the soft embrace of night itself. Peace and serenity filled every corner of her being, and the threads beneath her fingers whispered softly one last time before the night carried her entirely into dream-filled rest.